What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with your $1,400 third stimulus check update and stimulus package update as we are awaiting the details, the final details of the vote in the U.S. House of Representatives. I'm going to give you all the latest details of that and everything else going on in this video. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss out on updates on the third stimulus check package, as well as the next stimulus package. We also cover mortgage assistance, rental assistance, property tax assistance, and utility assistance, which is going out right now from the second stimulus check package. And there will be more and more eligibility going out forward from the third stimulus check package, as well as Social Security increases and student loan forgiveness, and the next stimulus package is coming up. Everything we cover on this channel. Don't forget to hit the like button for us, and let's jump right in. Texas may need a bailout or their own stimulus package or stimulus provisions after the energy crisis and winter storms that happened. Texas says that their power market is $1.3 billion short after the storms that hit Texas a few days ago. Texas grid operators need to come up with $1.3 billion to pay power plants for the energy they supplied during last week's historic blackouts, raising the prospect that it might require a state bailout. The Electric Reliability Council of Texas, which manages most of the state's grid, said it's still waiting on more than $2 billion in payments from retail power providers and others after a deep freeze caused energy prices to skyrocket. The grid operator known as ERCOT managed to cover part of the debt by transferring $800 million in revenues from another market, but remains $1.3 billion short. If they can't come up with the rest, the debt could be shared by everyone in the market, including consumers and average, regular, everyday people. That may prompt lawmakers to step in and possibly make up the difference with a bailout or a stimulus package. Quote, someone is going to need to pay. I've never seen anything like this before, said Evan Caron, a chief strategy officer with the energy technology from the firm ClearTrace. This comes also as thousands of Texans were charged tens of thousands of dollars for electricity and utility bills during the winter storms. And honestly, I think they need to have some kind of cap on that, where something like the energy prices can't more than double, because literally they went up thousands of percent, and literally the energy prices just skyrocketed within the matter of a few hours, and they need to have some type of regulation to prevent that from happening in the future. Here is Kevin McCarthy, who is the leader of the Republicans in the U.S. House of Representatives, where they are set to vote on the third stimulus check package. Here is details from Kevin.
GOP lawmakers, including our next guest, fighting back against the pork-filled bill, which includes funds for museums, high-speed rail projects, Silicon Valley, of course, is the place, and a bridge in New York for Chuck Schumer. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy joins us now. Kevin, you know, the last relief bill got 92 votes in the Senate. You've had 3 other bills, rescue plans. It's got bipartisan support. Why does this one not have any?
Because this one wasn't even worked together. This one is not a bill that would focus on, which Republicans want to, about putting us back to work, back to school, back to health. This bill is actually too costly, too corrupt, and too liberal. Less than 9% of this bill goes to defeating this virus. Less than 9%. We have $1 trillion still sitting out there that's already been appropriated. The Democrats last night just blocked for the 3rd time the $64 billion that is sitting there that hasn't been used to go to open schools. And the money in this bill, it won't even get to the schools till next year, 95% of it. It's almost like they want to force schools to stay closed. And then they reward the states that will stay closed. I mean, I watched that interview in California for that young business owner that she's just crying of what Gavin Newsom has done to her. This bill would actually reward California and New York to stay closed over those states that actually opened up.
And I'm sure you know that you lead the nation in deaths, and you also are arguably the #1 most locked down state in the country with no light at the end of the tunnel. And Adam Carolla got into a bit of a death match with the Los Angeles Teachers Union because he said a study came out. Only 1% of transmission happens in schools. He says, you're cowards. Go back to work. Do you call them cowards?
The one thing we all know is the science proves kids should be in school. I've watched in my own community that 14%, it just came back, of more D's and F's. I just saw the pediatrician in Virginia, the association shows that more than 90% anxiety, depression in these children is doing much more than just leaving them back education-wise. I do not understand why we cannot open the schools. The science says it, and now you've got the president, Joe Biden, thinks opening schools, his goal is 1 day a week. You cannot allow this to continue.
Also, I want to just comment there. You know, we've seen Kevin McCarthy there, who's the leader of the Republicans in the House, say that only 9% of the money is going to defeat the virus. But what we really need to clarify there is that the money that goes to you guys, the Americans, they're not counting in that, because they're saying that $1,400 stimulus checks, the $3,000 to $3,600 child stimulus checks, the child stimulus tax credit that is going to be paid to you guys in monthly stimulus checks, the mortgage assistance, rental assistance, utility assistance, property tax assistance, unemployment assistance of $400 per week to people that have lost their job. They're not counting any of that money in that 9% figure. So they're counting the money that is literally going directly to combating the virus, like vaccine distribution and disbursement and all the money for vaccines and probably some other things in there. So when they say 9%, they're not counting the money that's going directly to you guys, which a lot of people would say is the most important thing. Yes, it doesn't go to defeating the virus, but it goes to dealing with the economic portion of the pandemic, which is having people not get evicted from their homes and not get evicted from their apartments and be able to eat food, and increases on SNAP, WIC, and EBT programs so people can eat. And I mean, we're literally at over 10% real unemployment at this point, which is 4 times higher than where the unemployment was before the pandemic. So literally at this point, we're still 4 times higher than what we were. We're actually at the very height of the 2008-2009 recession, the housing market crash, and the economy crash that we had there. The height, the very top part that we got there was around 10% unemployment, which is where we're at now, at 10% real unemployment if you add in all the different people that are unemployed or physically stopped looking for jobs because their industries, such as the restaurant industry, the travel industry, the cruise industry, all those different industries literally have stopped hiring and in fact have laid off millions of workers. So we're still at the height of the economic recession compared to 2008 and 2009 when it comes to unemployment and certain economic measures. So really a lot of people would say that yes, defeating the virus itself is hard, or should be focused on, but also the people and the economic problem of the pandemic is really as big of a battle or better, because if the virus went away today, it would still take time to get the economy back to where it was. In 2008 and 2009, it took over 4 years for employment to get back to normal. So we don't want a repeat of that. And almost every economist that you ever see they say spending money now will help us shorten that time. And if we spend less money, that time to get back to normal economically and jobs-wise and people-wise, and how their jobs are doing and the economy are doing, it could take longer than that if we don't spend enough money now through stimulus dollars. Next up, let's go to the head of the White House Economic Council on the third stimulus check package.
Joining us now, Director of the White House National Economic Council, Brian Deese. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Brian, thank you for being with us. I'm sure you've heard it. Most Republican economists, a lot of Democratic economists, including Larry Summers, fear that this bill may be too big, too much relief, and could cause inflationary pressures and add unnecessarily to the national debt. What's your response to those criticisms?
Well, good morning, Joe. Look, first, our assessment of the economic situation is that we are at a very precarious moment. Certainly, we're all hopeful, but if you take a stock today, we are 10 million jobs down from where we were when we started this pandemic. We've got historic crises in terms of hunger and homelessness in this country. And as we look at the economic forecasts and data going forward, what we see is without decisive action, it's going to be years before we get back to a strong and healthy labor market. So we think that this is a moment where the risk of doing too little really still is outweighed by the risk of doing too much. And that's what's behind this plan. And I would say that if you look at the most economists would agree with that assessment. And then we have to go to the particulars of the plan, where getting shots in people's arms, getting schools open, getting relief out to families and small businesses, we think is all a sensible and, in fact, urgently needed priority.
So I'm sure you heard several weeks ago the Congressional Budget Office projected that the economy was going to grow by 3.75% in 2021, even if there were no relief packages coming from the Hill and the White House. That being said, that's fairly healthy growth. Why do we, given that, why do we still need to have a $1.9 trillion bill instead of saying maybe half of that?
Because we're in a historic economic hole. This pandemic has hit the economy and put us in a place where that same CBO report said that if we do nothing, it will take until the end of 2024 or 2025 to get back to pre-pandemic employment levels. And from our perspective, letting the economy move slowly back to full employment would put millions of Americans at risk of lower wages and permanent scarring for their long-term incomes. So we see a better way if we move quickly and aggressively now to actually get shots in people's arms, to get this economic recovery accelerated. We can move much more quickly back to full employment. And in fact, that's what the CBO, that's what that CBO analysis indicated.
Hey, Brian, it's Willie Geist. What is the plan going forward on the minimum wage? We heard from the Senate parliamentarian last night, that the Senate cannot include the $15 minimum wage in this COVID relief package. There are still many, many people, Democrats and Republicans in this country, who would like to see it raised, who need to see it raised. So what's the strategy moving forward if it can't be in this big bill? Will you carve out separate legislation to raise the minimum wage?
Well, look, we were disappointed by the parliamentarian's ruling. And it was President Biden who put the minimum wage in his American Rescue Plan because we believe it's a justified and, in fact, urgently needed step forward. Passing the minimum wage would get a raise to 27 million Americans. Most careful economic analysis shows that this is an effective way to raise the wages of low-income Americans with a very de minimis impact on employment. And so we think it's the right thing to do. We're going to consult with our congressional allies, congressional leadership today to talk about a path forward on how we can make progress urgently on what is an urgent issue. And at the same time, we need to act on this American Rescue Plan. As we were just talking about, the need is urgent. And as hopeful as we all are about the trajectory of this virus, there are still real risks out here, and we need to act urgently now.
But there are some progressives and a lot of people in the country who are worried that the minimum wage piece is going to fall by the wayside now that it's been disallowed by the parliamentarian. But the president is still committed to getting a $15 minimum wage?
Absolutely. The president has campaigned on the $15 minimum wage. He believes in the $15 minimum wage. He's committed to getting it done.
Okay, so looks like the update on the vote in the U.S. House of Representatives has just come in. Literally, I had to start filming the first part of the video because I have to film like an hour or two before the, before it goes live, because I have to film it. My wife has to edit it. Then we have to process it. Then we have to upload it to YouTube. And then YouTube has to process it. So all that takes time. So here's the update. Apparently, they had to push the vote back to tomorrow morning, Saturday morning. The measure was being considered Friday evening in a marathon rules committee before going to floor. This has now set up an early Saturday morning vote unless the House decides that they need to postpone it on the floor until later on Saturday. Let's see here. So Steny Hoyer says, "We're going to pass it handily, Most Democrats support the bill, but they can only afford up to 4 Democrats to vote no within their thin 221 seat majority. That is what we were looking at yesterday, where I showed you there's only 10 more Democrats than Republicans. So if 5 of them say no, that adds 5 to the total of the Republicans, and we'll have a tie vote. So yeah, they can only have 4 Democrats out of 221 say no. And this minimum wage provision being in the bill is causing some concern for that. So it looks like they unfortunately had to push the vote back to tomorrow morning. So I will keep you updated. I will have a new video at 10 a.m. Eastern time for you. Also, briefly, let me update you guys on my personal health. I know you guys have been asking a lot. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, also for your 40th birthday wishes. Wow, there was thousands. So thank you guys so much. Yeah, I cracked my tooth on my 40th birthday dinner, literally biting into some bread that had a real hard crust. I got that fixed the next day, so that's been good. Everything's good with that. On my back issue, I have a pars defect in my spine, and it's ruptured, and I have like a bad disc and a nerve problem and all sorts of things there. Over the last couple weeks, it's really been pressing on me, pain going all the way up my back into my lungs and my chest, and actually making it hard to breathe for me some days, with which I have asthma in addition to. But so basically, I started a dose of steroids, prednisone, last week, and I finished all of them but 2 pills because I literally stopped because I was dizzy, like really, really dizzy. Like in between videos, I was laying down in bed like for like 2 whole days, and then since then I've still been dizzy. I'm literally on like day 7, and I've been dizzy. However, we talked to the doctor, both my wife and I, and the steroids helped me tremendously with the pain going up my back and the breathing issues because the pain was like constricting on my lungs and my back. Well, the pain started to come back in the last 24 hours going up, and it wasn't there for like a week before then. So the steroids really helped. The steroids do say they can cause dizziness, but that should have been gone after like a day or two, and we're now on day 7. So the doctor, after us talking with him extensively, he thinks it's vertigo. So I'm on meclizine now to kind of counteract that, and we're actually starting a second dosage of steroids or prednisone today. So I'm now on a second dosage because it did actually help my back problem and my breathing problem and the pain going up my back tremendously, and it just started to come back. So after talking with him, I think it's the right decision. We're going to start another, like, it's like a 7-day dosage or something like that for steroids. And I'm taking the meclizine now to counteract the dizziness. I'm still dizzy, literally sitting here, but it's not as bad as when it first started like days ago. So I will keep you updated on that. Wish me luck. I will also update you guys in the morning on the voting on the 3rd stimulus check package. Remember to subscribe down below. It's completely free. Click the bell icon to all notifications to get notifications when we go live. New videos tomorrow, 10 a.m., 3 p.m., 8 p.m., and 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will see you there. You can click this top video here to watch my newest stimulus check video next. And this video teaches you how to start your own business selling products on Amazon FBA. I have dozens of students that have replaced their 9-to-5 income selling products on Amazon, and I teach them how to do that. Click on one of those videos to watch them next. Thanks, guys, and I will see you in the next video.